Hi and welcome everyone. This is Lavender Sky Panther. Today is Monday, October 25th, 2021, and today's topic is called Sky Star. It's a collection of images and sky observations happening October 7th through the 10th, 2021, and this is show number 123. And I have a few alternate cover slides here. I wasn't sure which one to go with. See which one you like the best. This is a little preview also of what's coming ahead. Some very exciting stuff started popping up throughout the show, but mainly in the second half of the show. So if you're pressed for time, I highly recommend you at least catch the latter half of the show. Anyway, here's another one. I'm telling you some really bizarre stuff, more bizarre than usual, were popping up for the camera during this time frame. this go round, so hope you can stay and watch the show. Now, before we get into things though, I'd like to say good day, osio, how, buongiorno, guten tag, kia ora, jambo, kedu, buenos dias, bonjour, ni hao, dzień dobry, konnichiwa, dobrohonya, annyeonghaseyo, portaji, dobry den, aloha winala, kalimera, hudenda, and good day. Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. So we have a starter page, which is once again the words, wisdom, and spirit of the day combined with the greetings. And we're going to talk a little bit about starfruit and some wonderful properties of it. So I'm going to read this straight out. But before I jump into that, I love the name in Spanish for starfruit is carambola. And if you have more than one, it's carambolas. And my own little personal joke is I sometimes love to say this word in a really angry way, like if you want to say a swear word but you want to keep it innocent. I came up with just saying carambolas because it sounds like really, really mean, but it just means starfruit. So you can borrow that if you want to use like a, G-rated, family-friendly little name to express some anger or frustration. Anyway, we're going to get into more about starfruit, the origin and names. I'm just going to read this straight up. It's a little excerpt, and I have the website where I took it from over here. All right, so native to the Malayan Peninsula, carambola, which is scientifically known as Averroia carambola, is a fruit-bearing tree of the family Oxalidaceae. That's a good one to say. I challenge you to say this word. And genus Averroa. The tree, as well as the fruit, is popular by different names in different languages, such as Haitian, Ziblin, I hope I'm saying that right, Tonga, Tapanima, Khmer, Spoo, Laotian, Nakfuang, Polish, Carambola, and others. Carambola is widely popular throughout the world and is known as carambola, Coolie tamarind in Trinidad, Coromandel or gooseberry, country gooseberry, five corner, supposedly Australian, five fingers, Guyana, starfruit, and star pickle. Now, there are many health benefits, and such as being an antioxidant, antimicrobial and antifungal, anti-tumor, anti-ulcer, hypotensive, hypocholesterolemic, nephrotoxic effect, analgesic, hypoglycemic, and anthelmintic. Also, it supposedly helps with hypocholesterolemic and hypolipidemic activity. Now, how to eat it? This website recommends that you can eat it in the form of the juice, smoothie, shake, or raw. Due to the presence of slightly tartness, it could be made a pickle as well. It could be mixed with tropical fruit, salad, fresh lime juice, a little honey, and zest. It could also be floated in a fresh summer punch or either sauteed with shrimp, chicken, or meat. So anyway, welcome to the little world of starfruit if you're not familiar with it. And these are actually really beautiful when you slice them. If you look at my cursor, you slice them this way, and then you get a cross-section of a star. Really pretty. Now, this particular one was really delicious and came from a farmer's market, so it was locally harvested in Miami, Florida. And it was a beautiful golden orange color. A lot of the ones I've seen, though, are really pale yellow, and these ribs are like a greenish color. Anyway, if you're not familiar with them, this is a little bit about it. And if you are already familiar with them, maybe this inspires you to go have some right now. Anyway, let's get into the sky observations. Now, if you're new or returning to this channel, welcome and thank you so much for being here. If you are new to the channel, I am doing a little bit of catch up on these shows. So as you can, if you heard in my intro, This is covering the span of time between October 7th and the 10th, so I'm on a mission to catch up on shows and release more this week. So I'm just going to suggest that you go ahead and look at some of my older videos at the intros just to see or hear more detail about what I'm doing here and why. The real quick version is that you're going to see some images that I've taken around Miami and surrounds wherever I go on a day-to-day basis, and I look up and take a 360-degree look around me, and many times during the day, in fact. And I just capture strangeness and anomalies happening in our skies today. And I have an original format, and then later on in the show you'll see then I have an enhanced version of the photos, which better highlights and draws out interesting things that I've seen. When I say enhanced photo, it just means I've taken the image and edited attributes of it, such as color, saturation, brightness, and contrast. The term cloud in quotes activity below is saying that more often than not, I'm seeing and detecting cloaking craft or cloaking objects, which could be instrumentation or some type of tech up in the sky. That's a quick version. So anyway, I'm going to jump into the slides, and hopefully everyone, you will enjoy the show. So here we're looking, I have little timestamps here, 7:37 a.m. and 7:54 a.m. These are both the original photos. Now what's important to hear is just, not many minutes later, we go from seeing some golden quality in the light, in the morning looking east, and then suddenly, bam, it's a whiteout, a glare out. Now, I've talked about this in other shows, the idea of the solar simulator or artificial sun, and people such as myself and countless Earth and Sky watchers out there, and especially those that post on YouTube, have documented this phenomenon that it seems to be absolutely in play, that we have artificial tech that's veiling and otherwise hiding, our original sun in many different forms, in the forms of lens work and reflections and projections and all of this stuff. So take a good look at that, not only in some of my earlier shows, but other shows out there on YouTube. So anyway, that's just to show this. So this is original photos, and now the next pair is with some enhancement, just to again show you we've got golden quality, and then bam, it's a whiteout, a glare out. Can't see anything. Now what's interesting is here on the left hand side I've got capital A with a lowercase a. We see some type of object in the background, it could be a cloud, but then in the right hand side it moves over further, and I'm seeing it looking more like an object. That's debatable, but that's what I'm seeing. Alright, let's keep going. Now we're going to zoom in even more on what I said was that object. Looks like we might have two. But anyway, I'm just saying here the cloud in quotes moving in front of the sun in quotes, and diving downward on a steep angle to conceal the quote-unquote sun area. Why? So this was a very artificial looking cloud. You can see the straight line below. Again, we have some objects down here, which I do suspect are cloaking craft just based on my experience doing this now, and really kind of seeing the characteristics of them. But this is a straight line, and then this is a cypress tree standing straight up, but where I have these arrows, the cloud was actually bending down on a sharp angle, to cover up where the sun was coming up. And so, there's a lot there to say, okay, was this even cloud? If it was, it's absolutely artificially generated, or is there craft in there that comes in and conceals this critical point from where we go from our golden sun to that white out. There's a transition period, and like clockwork, there's always some kind of big cloud body that moves in right at that key time. And again, I'm not the only one documenting this. This happens at both the sunrises and the sunsets. Anyway, let's keep going. So 17 minutes later, we get that white out. So again, it's still golden. There's stuff happening here, cloud and presence of things. And then with that glare whiteout, you can't see anything. All right, so now we're going to keep going. This is in the morning still now, flipping our view around to the west. And this was just an odd-shaped cloud. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one because there's so many better examples coming up in the show of some really odd things. But really what caught my attention was this, looking on the right-hand side, 8.1. We get like a truncated, perfect triangular form. Weird stuff happening in here in the body of this quote-unquote cloud. It's not even a typical cumulus cloud. It's way too low in the sky as well. It's very odd in so many respects. We're going to keep going though. But first we'll zoom in a little bit and look at 8.2 to see that perfect triangle. Again, straight line at the bottom. Something weird happening within here. But again, we'll look at other better examples. Also, B.2 looks like some type of object floating here off to the side. And give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. This one I took the picture, and I'm taking all of these on a camera phone, by the way. I forgot, I went ahead and highlighted something so I wouldn't forget what I was looking at, and I didn't keep a pure copy of this. So anyway, just see where I was looking. So I did see definite straight edges. You can see here it started to look like a triangular sky imprint. I've covered those on other shows. But what was weird is we've got this pure line. Look at this curve. It's almost like the bottom, of a smiling face smiling there. So I thought, let's have a look at this with some enhancement to see if I can pull out anything else in this photo. I really couldn't, other than this sky imprint of a triangle up here still holds, and this one here as well. But you just see this like trough, perfect curve, near perfect anyway. Just really strange. And then something happening down here that looks like a craft to me. Anyway, see what you think. Okay, this is looking southwest in the morning. Just this pair was really odd because we have a body of quote-unquote cloud. Again, it's looking very artificial, dead level, but then these things are popping up vertical and branching off and doing their own thing with little outcroppings. So to me, once again, this is looking like a host of cloak and craft going on. Especially when you look here, we have a perfect triangle. I talk about that in other shows. When you have perfect symmetry on things like a triangular form, and here's like a ghosted triangular form even. That stuff is like showing me this stuff is cloaking. And you don't have pure triangles in the sky, unless it's some kind of tech or artificial something or other. Anyway, we've got these weird things happening over here too. So we'll look at it with enhancement, and we can see just we get the backlighting, and we just see all sorts of little shapes and objects. We have this is like a cylindrical form with a weird little thing attached to it. There's enough here, like a straight edge here, something floating in here, top of a triangle over here, triangular form, pure triangle hanging out here. There's just a lot of strangeness. So I am going to say this is actually here too at C.1. Looks like something that's got cloaking material wafting over it, and it looks more organic than the rest. Anyhow, see what you think is going on. It's all kinds of strange though. I think we can agree on that. Here looking to the northwest was just something that just looked like a pure triangle cut out here. So I thought let's go ahead and see what that does with enhancement. I couldn't get to too much in this other than we got really weird wave striations that are all, more or less parallel to each other moving through the sky. Just the whole thing just looked and felt out of place. Same thing here. We've got these concentric curves that are echoing each other, moving in this pattern, while this is like coming down at this angle. This is doing its own thing right next to it. So, and this is moving, has an angle that way, and this has an angle that way, while this is going more or less straight up. So what the heck is going on? I looked at it with some enhancement and couldn't get at to too much more what's going on. But there's definitely a whole different level of activity happening here versus here versus here and versus here. It's just a strange collection of quote-unquote cloud types. This isn't even a type that you could point to in a book, from decades past. And so I've got to believe that this is some type of cloak and craft activity or effects from it. All right, here we're looking east. And this was just strange, standalone, triangular more or less, overall shaped object. Looks like cloaking, something in mid-cloak. And look at this coming in at 8.1. This to me looks like, if you follow my cursor, obviously like a triangular shape. But if you look where my cursor is coming down here, to me that's like the bow of a ship, the front of a ship. And then these are the side wings. And, we got some interesting texture on the surface here. Looks really incredible if that's a craft. I have to believe it is. It even looks like we've got shadow coming in off of this thing. Truly amazing. Now, as I say in every show, I can sense and feel stuff. Just seems like it's in the sky. But with the advent of our wonderful camera phones here, they have such a wider range of photo and light sensitivity than our eyes can pick up. So this is just kind of filling the blanks of what I'm just sensing is up there. And we had a weird thing kind of shooting off this way, so there could be something else cloaking in and down in here. See what you think. Also, we've got like a weird object, like a square rectangular shaped thing hiding back in here. And C.1 starts to get really interesting. We'll keep tracking that in a few photos. So yeah, here I'm just focusing on what's going on with this thing. It's just so strange. Here's a pure triangular shape at C.1. This is starting to look weird and do strange things over here too. So I'm not going to spend too much time on some of these. I invite you to spend time on your own and really, investigate further and have a look around. I'm not going to be able to get to everything in any given photo. Sometimes there's just so much hiding and popping up So if I pass over, like inadvertently, don't talk about something, even if it's like really obvious and you're like, oh, why didn't she catch that? There's just a lot to cover. And so if you want me to talk about something and I've missed it, just let me know. Let me know the page number and the color of the subtitle below in the comment section below, and I'll be happy to cover it in a future show. All right, so here's that weird object again, that like overall triangular looking shape, and it just keeps developing a little bit more. So what's interesting is when, oh, and here's our, interesting, craft. I'm calling that a craft at B.1. So what's interesting is, I hope you're doing sky observations as well, but if you're starting out, just, start out 2 to 5 minutes a day, look all around you, kind of just notice patterns, notice motion, like if something's diving down this way and perpendicular, that should not happen in a cloud system. Like this row of whatever's going on and this one crossing it, that doesn't happen with a typical, natural cloud. So you already know something's weird there. But, just start taking pictures too, and with some basic, Photoshop, not even Photoshop, even in PowerPoint, I just do these in PowerPoint, just up the levels, excuse me, up the levels and lower the levels of the contrast, brightness, and color saturation. Really, that's about it. And you can see from left to right here, a whole world of things starts popping up when you do that. So have fun and see what you can see for yourself as well. And I don't find anything like, what do I want to say? There's no sense of impending doom with any of this stuff I see. Usually I get like a neutral, like no feeling, nothing like, I'm not concerned when I'm catching these things that, if these in fact are extraterrestrial or advanced technology by ETs happening right in front of me, I'm not getting any a sense of danger is what I'm trying to say. So if I did, I know I would sense it, and then I would just simply go inside and stop, put the camera down. But, I think these things are popping up more and more, just for people like myself and like you, if you go out and do this, as like a little form of self-disclosure that these things in fact are happening, and that it's okay that we know that they're there. I think once we really start looking at these things and noticing patterns and just look up, get off the phones, other than, whatever important use, just get off and start really looking at nature more and looking up in the skies more, and we start to see patterns and you start to see stuff like this. And it doesn't even take long, just a few seconds, like, oh, I feel like something's over there, snap a picture, and then, look at it later on some software and see what you can see. All right, anyway, we're going to keep going. So I'm zooming in on this thing because this is a fascinating feature, whatever it is. And then bam, the other thing to look at is color signatures start to change. So there's something warmer, warmer tone right in here. And that also tells me it's a good little clue that this is some type of tech. But look at this thing. It's almost like, I don't know, if this thing weren't bent downward and were like symmetrical like this, like a wing, it's almost like a B-1 bomber coming down or something. Anyway, but look, we've got pure triangular forms, some other, I'm guessing that's a triangular form over here. It's just bizarre. What do you think is happening? It's not a natural cloud, I'll tell you that. All right, now looking northwest, this was interesting. I noticed these long lines coming in, and again, it's coming straight. We've got one at one angle, one at another angle. It tells me something not so natural is going on. So we look on the right-hand side with some enhancement, and now this starts to look like, if you follow my cursor, this darker thing beyond looks like an overall huge object to me, and this looks like cloaking material happening in front of it. And then look, we've got a pure curve of something happening here, triangular form at C.1, so something's going on in that scene. And then look at this, we're looking west toward the evening, and not only is this a very artificial looking, like fan-shaped cloud, I covered these in other shows, just really artificial looking the way it forms, the consistency, the way the edges fray in weird ways. But also now we have weird objects that look like they're kind of being cloaked and, smudged behind heavy particulate. And then we get these weird shapes kind of doing their own thing. And so we're going to look at it with enhancement. And here we also get a red-pink signature back here, and then it's like golden toward white here, with a bright white burst here, weird, otherworldly kind of like cyan blue happening up in here. So what is going on? First off, this whole big thing, once again, is coming in to conceal what is happening with the sun at sunset. And to see what could be causing this red pinkness, have a look at my description box below. There are many reasons many, let's say, options of what could be going on with that red-pink color signature. Now we start to see weird things emerging. Again, looks like they're heavily cloaked with something, this little smudge effect. Weird things happening still continue there. So let's zoom in a little bit, and we're going to just look at that one part. I have things labeled, but let's look to the right-hand side. So something definitely looks like it's cloaking all in here. Some things, many things actually. We've got a straight line there that shows something artificial's happening, I suspect, here too. And then, look, we've got a perfect like triangular shape in here, and then these things are moving off at strange angles away from all of this. So there's definitely some type of cloaking activity happening there. Now we're going to go looking southwest, and this whole thing felt weird. And I talk about there being a staccato effect where the clouds seem just kind of choppy and fuzzy to the naked eye, and yet everything else is in focus. And it just means there's some kind of disturbance, some disruption in the atmosphere. And usually to me that means there's some type of cloak and craft there, and just by virtue of however it operates, it's sending out electromagnetic wave activity that creates that effect, or it's a deliberate cloaking technique, to kind of disturb the vibrations, to conceal what's going on. I think it's the latter, or maybe it's a combination of both. Anyway, we look to the right-hand side, and whenever I sense something is going on up in an area like I did in this one, usually it does also turn to red-pink, the signature. So this almost looks like it has a trail, like this whole thing kind of flew in here or something, is poised here. We also get weird texture, little object things happening in here. And so even at C.1, this looks like the end of a little pipe sticking out. So I'm definitely going to say there's some type of cloak and craft activity going on in here. This also might be a larger, shadow of a triangular form beyond. See what you think. All right, now we get some backlighting on this situation looking west. This was weird. How do we have like this quote-unquote sun reduced down to a pinhole? That doesn't happen with our natural sun. So again, we're talking about solar tech or solar simulator at B. But anyway, here we go. We have some odd shapes. We look to the right with some enhancement. Again, I just have probably more questions than answers on this one. But I have an overall triangular form here. It looks like a pure triangle over here. One over here too, one over here too, lots of little mini triangles. And then we get the red-pink glow again in the background, and choppiness with the clouds. So I'm definitely saying there is some kind of cloak and craft activity happening there to create that local disturbance in the sky. And all of this is happening very low too, by the way, extremely low, lower than most clouds ever used to travel in decades past. From what I've observed in my history here on this planet so far. So here's a panorama. We're looking northwest to south. Let's see. So I'm trying to see where we are. Okay. So anyway, we have this whole activity. So northwest is to the right, south is to the left. Anyway, this started looking really strange. Again, very choppy. Got some hot spots of light in here. Weird formation. So we go to the top and look at it with some enhancement. And again, we get that red, pink signature just in certain places. So I do think there's a bigger craft up in there creating that. And we get this hot burst of like pure white light too. That's really odd. So that shows me something's definitely happening up in there. Now this is looking north. Again, we got this, look at how choppy and fuzzy that is. But what was weird here is I saw this like perfect curve, notched out of here, or there's some type of object in the foreground that's a perfect ball in front of this. I'm not sure. So we look to the right-hand side and look at that, it's carved out. So that doesn't happen in nature. And then on top of it, we get this red-pink signature right up in there. So along with all the choppiness, I'm going to say too, again, absolutely a local phenomenon because there is craft sitting right in there generating that. All right, now this is looking up, and what caught my attention was not only we got the little bit of choppiness going on, but we have some weird little shapes floating in. We have more or less a straight edge here, and this really darker area B caught my attention. And so on the right-hand side with some enhancement, this does look like a pod, shape thing coming down. So I'm going to say that's some type of cloak and craft because it's a perfect curve, on each side. The symmetrical shape. See what you think, though. I'm zooming in on it one more time to see what this little rift is right here. And I couldn't get it too much more, but it looks engineered to me, whatever is going on in there. See what you think again. All right, more weird activity looking northeast with this sky. Look at it. That's not a natural cloud phenomenon whatsoever. And then we look at B.1. That's starting to look like a very straight edge, with some lighter reflective part on that side, faceted, and then like darker underneath. So that shows me that's a dimensional object. I'm calling that a cloak and craft with not so much cloak on it, if you know what I mean. And then we look at 8.1, and it looks like, a darker shadow of an object that could be there as well. We've got a little bit of a hint of that red-pink glow too. Again, calling it cloak and craft, and we have an object down here as well, cloaking. All right, now this gets really interesting as well. Traveling up the highway looking south, I just noticed this shape, on a steep angle. And then something happening up here at A. So with enhancement, it gets really interesting. Look at whatever's going on here. It looks like a ring form with other things kind of coming in here this way. Just really strange. All right, more strangeness looking north. Again, we get that weird sky, all choppy, strange stuff happening. I have lots of letters to key into here too, to take a look at different forms and shapes. So look at F.1, we got like this rounded form. G.1 looks like something bigger. See the point here, cloaking, that looks like to me one big object. Here, triangular object at C.1, other weird things coming in and moving in at the other letters. And we also get, again, this red-pink glow amidst the disturbance. Now we're looking to the north-northeast, and again, look at this bigger triangle. We've got weird stuff going on, so I look to the right. And look at D.1. Man, that really pops out as an object. E.1, something really weird is going on there. And how do we have like this cylindrical thing on angle? That's not natural either. Hang on one second. Okay, I'm back. We have different color signatures as well. The reddish pink. Look what this thing is doing. It's curving around. It's really strange. And we have this indigo thing at 8.1 that looks like one big object also. All being camouflaged by this kind of disturbance. Whatever's going on with the frequencies, it's doing a good job making everything really choppy. This is stunning. Look at this. Striking, I mean. Looking west. On the left-hand side is the original, but I still saw this clear pattern. What the heck? We go to the right, and not only do we have like an elliptical shape, which looks like a craft over here too, we get this insane white burst on a sharp angle of something, so I gotta believe that's some type of craft phenomenon. And then look at this. How do you in a natural cloud system have something on angle and then perpendicular working its way up? The answer is you don't. You cannot have that in a natural cloud system, and yet here we go. So I'm saying this is absolutely cloak and craft. We have a perfect triangular shape here with like a trail behind it. These things are all doing their own thing. See what you think is going on in this one. Absolutely fascinating. Okay, still same kind of time frame, the same area looking northeast again. Things keep morphing and changing by the second and getting really interesting. E.1, a triangle. We still have our triangle at C.1 and that color. Just a lot of interesting things going on here, all in the matter of a few minutes. Here we start to get a straight edge, so I look to the right, and here we go. Again, that's not a typical cloud, natural cloud. So something, with rigid geometry is happening up in the sky. And, albeit cloaked. We still have a hint of the red-pink glow there as well. All right, now we're going to shift gears and go to a different part of town and look north. And here, this is a huge artificial cloud forming. Again, it's got that weird ragged fringe, and it just expands ever outward like a puddle spreading on a floor, but looks very artificial when it's doing it. And then we got weird little grooves cut out in this thing. It was just really odd. It's like a standalone thing. And in other shows, I've captured something like this when lightning occurs in it and you see like backlit shapes of craft and things happening. So I'm suspecting that there is craft hiding in this thing. All right, now we're going to look to the west, and this got really weird. So this whole thing started welling up from very low in the atmosphere in the sky. And just, started to morph and change a lot. And look how this is going off on an angle versus a different angle here. We look to the right and we see the enhanced version. So we see like a cylindrical form down here at C.1, something shooting off of it, looks like. Just got really strange. 8.1, this could be an overall cloak and craft or just this and their little pieces. I'm not sure. See what you think. Then we've got these weird lines, striations coming down. So we're going to zoom in. Here's that like weird shadow line. Weird things happening up here at A, and wherever I have the letters, we're going to look at with enhancement. We got a shadowy figures back here. Again, this weird line, shadow line, something very white happening up in here. Looks like it has design to it. And anytime I see something pure white standing out amidst, solid color or grayscale, that tells me there's some type of tech involved, or, something cloaking. Now here's this thing as it's like morphing and changing even further, looking really strange. We've got these wings popping up off of it now. Looks like this whole thing is starting to just like lift off out of this vapor. We look to the right and we see, this like cylindrical form again. Something looks like it's jettisoning off over here. Just a lot of strangeness happening. We're going to keep going because there are many more views to look at this. This is the really good one. Look at this thing. That's just so bizarre. And then to top it off, we've got a cloud trying to be a natural cumulus-looking cloud, even though, again, it's way too low in the sky. And the consistency is not of the pure, cumulus cloud I know of decades past on this planet. This is something else. And again, I think because it's cloaking and hiding things. We get weird little forms popping off the perimeter of this thing. Weird things happening in here. So we're going to look at it with some enhancement. And here we go. This looks like a pure triangle here. This looks like a darker, whatever's going on with that material is different from everything else. And it's looking like a triangular form as well. Weird little bits and pieces all over this thing. I'm going to keep going because we have more to cover related to it. But that was off to the west. Now to the northwest, this thing started looking really weird. Look at this. I mean, that's really bizarre. So with enhancement, we just kind of see it a little backlit. I am not sure what that is, but I know that's not a natural cloud. Weird little things happening here too. I'm not going to go over everything, but on your own time, if you can take a look, the more you look at any of these images, the more you're going to find. All right, now we're looking northeast, and we were taking a look at that wedge, or fan-shaped cloud welling up. I call them puddle clouds sometimes because they just ever expand. Again, like a puddle on the floor growing outward. Weird thing here happening at A, like it's a different color band happening in there. Anyhow, there's just a lot to go over all of these photos. So I'm going to keep moving through. Weird thing happening at B.1 that even looks like a circular, like a crater or a rim. It's really strange. And then here's a different color signature happening on this arcing band, whatever that is. Okay, this is weird. We're looking west, and now we get this coming in, this, starting to look like an object, although it's made of several pieces. I looked to the right, and I did an extreme enhancement on it. I really blew out the brightness and stuff, just to get at the heart of what is going on in here. And I kind of see at B.1 a triangular form. Something weird is happening in behind here. Look how clear and dark it is with different colors. Not sure what kind of object that is. And then something else is coming in front of it, which is also really strange. And so we take another view of this thing. Look at it. It just does not look natural. Anyway, you slice it. And then what's this coming in at A and B? Like something looks like it's shooting down, almost like a blade is trying to slice it or something. If you can see this darker thing, this darker fuzz out, to me is also masking, hiding something, cloaking. Because look at this. It's got a straight edge here and a straight edge here to a point, almost like the edge of a sword. And this, by extension, something else coming out of it or something. Really bizarre. I can't tell you what's going on here, but I can tell you it ain't right as far as being a natural cloud assembly, and it's absolutely got to be something cloaking in here all over the place. Then we're going to look east, and this was weird because this system was otherworldly. It felt very strange. When you look to the right, you look up at 8.1, there was this ethereal white-blue light, which I've covered on other shows, kind of inside of the cloud. And then this just started feeling really weird. Something darker was happening at B.1 while we still had lighter points. So it's like this cloud had self-illumination. And that tells me, too, there's got to be cloak and craft in there. And then we zoom in on that B element where it was darker. It just felt weird. And it does look like something is cloaking something bigger in here. We got these three little points that look like equidistant from each other. Just kind of has a feel of, even though it seems a little organic, has something that, seems to have purpose and design to it going on in there. See what you think, though, as always. Now going back to the west, where we have that big morphing cloud, it starts to reduce down to a more simple shape, and it got very interesting. So we're going to track this for a while. This is one of the views related to what made it on the cover slide. Anyway, when we put enhancement on it, this gets dark. We've got weird things floating around all over it, and then this thing in front of it. Everything just is really, really odd. But what's odd, too, is that it starts to become very symmetrical, like this wing on one side and wing on the other, and even this, is symmetrical. Oh, sorry. We're going to zoom in looking at C.1. Here we go. C.2, we see something sitting in front of it. Looks like a standalone cloaking object to me. Here's with some enhancement, and you can see, look how straight that line is. This looks like to me this could be some type of rounded craft, and that's a feature of it. See what you think, though. Okay, here it is looking straight on, and just some weird stuff happening here. Here's that like darker smoky tracing. It even has like curves that show intelligent design. Those are perfect curves, and so it looks like something ghosted cloaking there. What's this doing? You know, it's totally different color. This is whiter with weird texture going on in there. When we look at it with enhancement, you see all this texture in here. You know, this is just all kinds of strange, and I'm calling it as being cloak and craft, although again, I wish all this cloaking material would blow away so we see what we're dealing with. Okay, now we're going to look at a panorama, and then that overall shape that we're just looking at, it starts later on, morphing further, changing color, down below is the original, so now it's just becoming gray because we're losing some of the color. Anyway, let's keep going. We're going to look back at that wedge-shaped thing. Starts to get more weird looking. It starts curving over here, like radiating out in weird ways. Just very strange. All right, then we're going to come back to that form that we were looking at. And now the color has gone out of it, but what gets really interesting is we still have this form holding. It looks like two wings. And now we start to see this looking like a cockpit. And then I got really wowed, you could say, because then I started looking. The more I looked at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this almost looks like, the membrane of something concealing the cockpit, and that looks like a silhouette of a person or a humanoid or some type of, let's just say, entity controlling this thing, and maybe a companion, pet, or person or entity, I don't know. I think you'll see what I mean in a minute. It gets more and more clear later. So again, I started looking and I'm like, wait a minute, if this is a craft, then that would make sense that would be like the control center of whatever's going on. And then I started to see it looks like a silhouette. And then this is a perfect triangle in the back. This is a perfect triangle back here. This whole thing starts morphing and changing into a different shape. Now, here's what I mean. Is this figures in a cockpit? I mean, did I really catch something like that? I have to ask myself, because this starts to look like a round form on top of a body to me, and I don't know what that is, but we look at it with enhancement, it gets a little more clear. Do you see what I see? I mean, to me, this is like the back, like a shoulder, and like a circular form of a head. And who knows, maybe this thing is just like open air, and maybe this whole thing is a head, and I don't know, like coming out in front of this thing. See what you think. I just thought, wow, if that's what's going on, it's pretty amazing. But to me, this does look like the front of the craft, like with an opening, some kind of port here. Just weird stuff happening all over this thing, so why not? But see what you think. Maybe it's wishful thinking, but maybe I caught something. Here's another view. So again, the symmetry here of the wings, and to me this is the front, and that would be the back, and that would be the cockpit. And that to me looks like the silhouette of a form, of a being. And here's just another view. And this kind of illustrates my point that if this is a cloaking craft, here we've got that red-pink signature again, which could belong to whatever is generating from this craft. Or it could be something in the background that's being veiled and blocked out by this glare. I'm not sure. See what you think, though? Okay, we're looking at it now. That what I saw was a craft, and a cockpit starts morphing once again. And it gets even stranger because now this B is absolutely a cloaking craft. Look at this. It's a symmetrical triangle with this tab in the back, symmetrical, centered on it. And then this starts to become a triangle. Here, let me go to the enhanced version. This starts to become a triangle, which looks like it has different cloaking material wafting all over the place. And then these like little prongs are coming down, and they look symmetrical. So now that thing we were looking at totally morphed, like shapeshifted into some other type of crafts. The whole thing is truly bizarre. See what you think. I'm like dumbfounded and mystified by it, and it's just find it fascinating. So here's just zooming in on that one part, and here we go again. So if that's an absolute perfect triangle, which it is, then I have to believe that we were looking at another craft, and absolutely those could have been beings in it. But again, see what you think. All right, well, this is the photo of the week, I like to say, but actually it's a photo of the day because I'm going to be putting out a lot of shows, a couple more this week probably, and catching up. But anyway, this is a weed growing amidst ground orchids and umbrella plants. I just thought it was really interesting the way the light was catching it, and beautiful in its own right. And I want to say, actually, down here I have thanks a bunch for hanging around here a while. That was actually from my previous show. I didn't edit that out from a previous show, but still it applies. Thanks a bunch for hanging around here a while. I really appreciate your time if you've watched the whole show or any part of it. And it is Monday where I'm at, wherever you are. I wish you a beautiful week ahead. And more importantly, a gorgeous right now and tremendous peace and love. Lavender Sky Panther. Bye.